Why does God say He will open the door, and yet stay so silent for so long? You've received a clear promise. But your reality still feels like a prison. Like a wilderness. Like waiting with no end in sight. And maybe, in the quiet of the night, a thought creeps in. Has God forgotten me? Did I do something wrong? Is that why everything has just stopped? I want to speak to that place in you today. God's delay is not a denial. His silence is not His absence. And the waiting He's placed you in, that's not Him turning His back on you. If anything, it may be the very proof that He's holding you more closely than ever. We tend to think that getting to our destination quickly is the blessing, right? That when a door opens fast, when a prayer gets answered right away, when the harvest comes right on the heels of the labor, that's God's favor. And sure, that can be grace too. But when you actually sit with Scripture, you start to notice something. Before God brings someone to a certain place, He almost always first shapes them into the kind of person who can handle that place. He works on the inside before He changes the outside. Because here's the thing, no matter how big the dream is, if your character can't carry the weight of it, that dream stops being a blessing and starts becoming a burden. Think about Joseph. He received one of the most vivid promises in all of Scripture. The sun, the moon, the stars, all bowing down to him. A clear, undeniable picture of being lifted high. And then what happened? He didn't walk straight into a palace. He got thrown into a pit by his own brothers. Sold off to a foreign country. Falsely accused. Locked in prison. If that were us, honestly, wouldn't we have said something like, God, is this really the road you promised me? Why give me a dream just to take me lower and lower? But that's exactly it. Those years in prison, that dark, confining, forgotten season, that's what made Joseph into Joseph. If God had placed him on a throne as a young man right away, he might have carried all that unhealed hurt, all that wounded pride, into that position. But instead, God worked on Joseph's heart in that closed-off space. He walked him through betrayal, through the desperate longing to be seen and recognized, through bitterness and anger and impatience. And by the time Joseph stepped into authority, he wasn't just a man with power. He was a man with depth. He knew how to endure before he ever learned how to lead. He had learned to govern his own heart before he was ever asked to govern a nation. Moses is the same story, really. As a young man, he wanted to rescue his people, and he meant it. The passion was real, the sense of justice was real. But God didn't use that passion the way it was. Moses ended up in the wilderness. For 40 years. 40 years. A man who had grown up in Pharaoh's palace, out in the middle of nowhere, watching sheep. To anyone looking on, it would have looked like a wasted life. A finished story. But God was doing something in that wilderness that couldn't be done anywhere else. He was taking a man who had been strong and impressive in front of people, and quietly making him humble before God. Turning someone who had always relied on his own strength into someone who would one day walk forward with nothing but a wooden staff, and trust that it was enough. We want to skip to the ending. We want Joseph's title, Moses's miracle, David's crown. But God doesn't rush the ending, because the ending isn't actually what He's most focused on. What He cares about most is the person who will stand there when it arrives. He's not primarily trying to make you successful. He's trying to make you someone who will still be walking with Him long after the success comes. And maybe, just maybe, that's what this season is for you. The prayers that don't seem to be moving anything. The doors that stay shut no matter how long you knock. The silence that greets your best efforts. And underneath all of it, these questions that won't leave you alone. Why me? How long? What is any of this even for? But here's what I really want you to hear. God does not waste waiting. What looks from the outside like nothing happening, that could be the most significant work He's ever done in you. What looks like stillness on the surface could be the quiet, steady building of something in the deep places of who you are. When you're constructing a building, you know what takes the most time? It's not the part everyone sees. It's the foundation, the part buried underground that nobody ever photographs or talks about. And the deeper that foundation goes, the higher the structure can eventually rise. That's what God may be doing in you right now. If He's making you wait longer than you expected, it might not be because He's forgotten about you. It might be because He's laying a foundation in you that's deeper than you even know you need. Bigger calling requires deeper roots. The ones who will be lifted highest are usually the ones who first had to learn what it meant to be brought low. The ones who will be used the longest are the ones who first had to learn how to last. So don't be too quick to call this silence a failure. Don't write off this wilderness as the end of your story. Even standing in front of a door that won't open, even when God feels far away. He may actually be closer than He's ever been, right there at the core of you, doing the work that only that kind of quiet can do. Your dream coming true matters. But what matters even more is that when it does, you haven't lost God somewhere along the way. Your calling beginning matters. But what matters even more is that you're actually ready, in your character, in your soul, to carry it all the way through. Sometimes God doesn't answer the prayer the way we expect. Instead, He makes us into the answer. Rather than shifting the circumstances, He shifts us into people who can rise above the circumstances. Rather than flipping the situation overnight, He builds in us a center that won't crack even when the situation doesn't change. That's His way. It looks slow. It can feel absolutely suffocating. But it is the most precise, the most complete, the most trustworthy path there is. So if you're still in the waiting today, please don't give up. God is not wasting your time. He sees every tear. He hears every prayer. He knows the weight of the silence you're carrying. And through all of it, through every single moment of it, He is building something inside you that is stronger than any dream. Not an ambition that crumbles under pressure. An unshakable faith, not a passion that burns out when emotions run dry. A center that holds, and keeps holding, all the way to the end. And one day, when He finally opens that door, you're going to understand. You're going to look back and say, that's why I needed that time. He wasn't stopping me. He was keeping me from falling apart before I was ready. And in that moment, you won't just be someone who achieved something great. You'll be someone who was shaped, refined, and carried through by God's own hand. So let this stay with you today. The reason God is delaying your breakthrough is not because He's overlooked you. It's because He is building in you a character that is stronger than your dream. And the person He builds that way, even if they seem to arrive late by every human measure, is never truly late. They will stand, at exactly the right moment, in exactly the right strength, in exactly the place God has been preparing for them all along.